She called him worthless, laughed at his worn jacket, told him he didn't belong among successful people. But when masked men stormed that Chicago ballroom and chaos exploded when her designer necklace was ripped from her throat and terror froze her blood, the single dad she mocked became the only thing standing between her and violence. Sometimes the person you crush beneath your heel is the one who'll bleed to save your life. Before we begin, hit that subscribe button and comment what city you're watching from so I can see how far this story travels. Now let's dive in. Is that grease under your fingernails at a charity banquet? Natalie Pierce said it loud. Wanted the whole table to hear. Michael Turner looked at his hands, looked back at her. Those brown eyes gave away nothing. Engine oil, he said. Worked a double shift. Didn't have time to scrub everything. Natalie smiled, the kind of smile that had ended careers. How charming. And you're here because she already knew. The woman beside her, Sandra Chen, her VP, had told her twice. Michael's daughter won some scholarship contest. STEM thing, kids building robots or whatever passed for science these days. Sandra touched her arm. Natalie, Michael's daughter Emily won the competition. He's our guest of honor. Right. Natalie turned away, already bored. The baking soda volcano. Solar panel design, Michael said. Still calm, still unmoved. She increased efficiency 17% using recycled materials. Natalie wasn't listening anymore. She'd moved on to the investor on her left, laughing at his half-finished joke. That was Natalie's gift, moving forward, never looking back, never wondering about the damage. The Riverside Grand Ballroom glittered with money. Venture capitalists in suits worth more than cars. Tech CEOs checking watches that cost 5 figures. Society wives wearing enough diamonds to fund hospitals. Natalie had built Pierce Industries from her father's manufacturing shop into a billion-dollar empire in 12 years. She was 34. She was ruthless. She was brilliant. She was bored out of her mind. Michael sat 3 seats down, a seating chart mistake someone would pay for tomorrow. He didn't fit. That was obvious. His blazer came from a department store. His tie was discount rack. His boots were work boots he'd tried to polish. His daughter sat beside him, Emily, 10 years old in a yellow dress that was probably new for tonight, hair in careful braids, hands folded. She kept staring at the ice sculptures with wonder that made Natalie's chest feel tight. "Daddy, look," Emily whispered, pointing at the swans carved from ice. "I see them, baby girl." Michael's whole face changed when he looked at her, softened, opened. "Pretty amazing, huh?" Natalie heard it, hated that she heard it. That tenderness made her skin prickle with something she refused to name. Dinner crawled through 5 courses, food most people couldn't pronounce. Natalie gave her speech, the one she'd memorized. Innovation, excellence, disruption, leadership. Empty words that sounded good. During dessert, Gerald Hutchins leaned over, hedge fund manager, more money than sense. Did they really seat the janitor at the head table? He meant Michael. Natalie should have stopped it. She was the host. She had that power. She laughed instead. "I know, next year we'll screen the guest list better. Scholarships are wonderful, but there are limits." Michael's fork stopped halfway to his mouth. Set down, careful, deliberate. He didn't look at Natalie, didn't react. But Emily did. The little girl's face went red. Her eyes dropped. Her hands clenched her dress fabric. "Daddy's not a janitor." So quiet, almost lost in the noise. "He's a mechanic. He fixes things. He's the best." "It's okay, Em." Michael's hand covered hers. "Eat your dessert." Sandra looked at Natalie. "That was unnecessary." "Oh, please." Natalie waved her hand. "I'm sure he has thick skin. You don't survive without it." Survive. Michael's voice cut through, still quiet, but different now, sharp underneath. "Is that what you call this, crystal chandeliers and $70 desserts?" Conversations around them died. Natalie's smile froze. Excuse me, you think people who work with their hands don't live in the real world? Michael looked at her directly now. Something in his eyes made her spine straighten. That real life is boardrooms and stock portfolios. But I'll tell you something, Ms. Pierce. When your world falls apart, and everyone's does, eventually the person who knows how to fix what's broken with their own hands, that person survives. The person who only makes phone calls and signs checks. He shrugged. Not so much. Complete silence at their table. Natalie's face burned. Are you lecturing me about survival? I built $1 billion company from nothing. I employ 3,000 people. What have you built? A life my daughter can be proud of, Michael said. Simple, direct, without stepping on anyone's neck. How noble. Natalie leaned forward. And how's that working? You're 40, still working with your hands, barely affording that suit, raising a kid alone. Natalie, Sandra's voice carried warning, but Natalie was rolling now. That familiar surge when she crushed someone in negotiations, when she won, when she proved she was the smartest in any room. I'm saying what everyone thinks. You're here one night playing dress up, but tomorrow back to oil changes and making rent. My wife died. Michael said it quiet, flat. No child support, no dress up, just me and Emily. And we're doing fine, better than fine. She knows her father shows up, protects her, teaches her kindness matters more than bank accounts. Natalie opened her mouth. Nothing came out. Emily was crying, silent tears down her cheeks. Michael pulled her close, whispered something that made her nod against his chest. You should be ashamed, Sandra hissed. Natalie laughed, that cold sound that ended partnerships. Oh, please, he came with his sob story to guilt rich people. The doors exploded inward. Not exploded, but close. The sound of wood splintering, hinges screaming, then screaming, real screaming, human terror. 4 men burst through, black ski masks, weapons, time stuttered, jumped, fractured into snapshots. Woman in red stumbling backward, champagne glass falling, masked man raising a crowbar, ice sculptures catching light. Gerald Hutchins shoving away so hard his chair toppled. Then chaos, pure chaos, people running, colliding, screaming. The masked men moved fast, efficient, smashing jewelry cases, grabbing purses, ripping necklaces from throats. One fired into the ceiling. The crack split Natalie's skull. Someone near the back fell, blood between their fingers, burst eardrum. Everybody down. The roar filled the ballroom. Phones, jewelry, wallets now. Natalie couldn't move, literally frozen, legs cement, lungs stopped. She watched herself from outside, saw her own paralysis, thought clearly, this is how I die. A masked man came straight at her, his eyes locked on her necklace through the ski mask, cold, calculating. $300,000 of diamonds her ex-husband gave her to save their marriage. She'd kept them out of spite. Now they were a target. The necklace. His voice like gravel. Take it off. Natalie's hands flew to her throat, shaking so bad she couldn't work the clasp. The man's patience snapped. He grabbed the chain, yanked hard. Metal bit into her neck. She was pulled forward, off balance. Michael Turner stepped between them. She didn't see him coming. 1 second empty space. Next second he was there, a wall, calm, deliberate. You don't want to do that, Michael said. Same quiet voice. Like discussing weather. The masked man laughed. Ugly sound. Old man, you want to die first? No, but you're not taking her necklace and you're not hurting anyone else tonight. What happened next happened in seconds. Michael moved. No fancy kicks, no dramatic spins, just brutal efficiency. His hand shot out, caught the wrist, twisted with devastating force. The crowbar hit marble with a clang. Michael's other hand struck the throat, not killing, but breathing became very difficult. The masked man staggered back, gasping. Another attacker rushed from the side. Michael pivoted, used the first man's body as a shield, let momentum carry the second forward into Michael's rising knee. Blood exploded from the ski mask. The man crumpled. Everybody stay down. Michael's voice changed. Command, authority, someone used to being obeyed when lives depended on it. He positioned himself in front of Natalie, Emily behind him, his body a barrier. The biggest attacker, 6'4", built like a truck pulled a knife. "You just made a big mistake, hero." "I've made bigger," Michael said. The big man charged. Michael stepped into it, not away, into the attack. The most insane thing Natalie ever saw. He got inside the knife's arc. His elbow came up, connected with jaw. Sound like a bat hitting meat. The knife flew. Michael grabbed the arm, twisted, used the man's weight against him. All that mass crashed into a banquet table that collapsed under impact. The fourth attacker, younger, skinnier, losing nerve, raised his gun, pointed it at Michael's chest. "Stop," screaming. "Stop, or I swear, you're not going to shoot me," Michael said. Still calm, gun pointed at his heart. "You don't know that." "I do. You're scared. Your hands shaking. You didn't expect resistance. Definitely didn't expect anyone to fight back. Now your friends are down and you're alone and you're thinking about prison, wondering if the money's worth it." Michael took a step forward. "It's not. Stay back. Go home." Michael's voice went gentle. "Walk away. You haven't shot anyone, haven't seriously hurt anyone. You can still walk away." The gun wavered. Sirens split the night. Multiple vehicles, close, getting closer. The young attacker made his choice. Turned, ran, bolted through a side exit into Chicago darkness. The ballroom was destroyed, glass everywhere, overturned tables, people crying, bleeding, clutching each other, gunpowder smell thick in the air, two attackers unconscious, one crawling toward exit, leaving blood trail from his broken nose. Michael Turner stood in the center, breathing hard, controlled. He checked Emily first. "You okay, baby girl?" She nodded against him. Then he turned to Natalie. "Are you injured?" Natalie stared. Her mouth opened. No sound. "Ms. Pierce, are you hurt?" She shook her head. Tiny movement. Michael nodded once. Moved to help an elderly woman who'd fallen, crouched beside her, spoke soft, checked for injuries with gentle hands. Police flooded in. 12 officers, weapons drawn, shouting commands. Paramedics followed. The ballroom transformed. Controlled chaos. Professionals separating witnesses, treating injuries, cuffing the conscious attackers. A detective approached Michael, middle-aged, gray hair, tired eyes. "Michael Turner," not a question. "Detective Morrison," like they knew each other. Should have known. "Retired special forces at a fancy party. Bad guys robbed that party." Morrison shook his head. "Universe has a sense of humor." "Retired," Michael confirmed. "How long?" 6 years, since my wife died." "Right, heard about that. Sorry." Morrison glanced around. 3 hostiles down. No civilian deaths, minimal injuries. Your work. Did what needed doing. Always do. Morrison clapped his shoulder, moved away to coordinate. Natalie heard it through fog. Special forces, retired. The words didn't connect to the man in the cheap blazer with oil under his nails. Didn't connect to this person she'd mocked. Sandra was beside her suddenly. "Natalie, look at me." Natalie turned. "You need to thank him," Sandra said. "I can't. You can, and you will. That man saved your life. Several lives. Go." Natalie's legs moved without permission. She walked to Michael. He was holding Emily now, his daughter wrapped around him. "Mr. Turner." Her voice came out wrong. He looked at her, those steady eyes that had seen violence and death and chosen gentleness anyway. "I need to—" "Don't," Michael said. "What? Don't thank me. I don't want your gratitude." The words landed like a slap. "But you saved—" "I protected people who needed protecting. That's what decent humans do. It's not transactional." He shifted Emily in his arms. "But I'll tell you this, Ms. Pierce. Remember tonight. Remember it before you judge someone by their collar or bank account. Remember it before you decide someone's worthless because they don't fit your definition of success." Still soft, but every word had weight. Sometimes the person you laugh at is the person who'll bleed for you when everything falls apart. He turned away, turned his back on her, walked toward a paramedic, gesturing for him to sit. Natalie stood alone, surrounded by broken glass, overturned tables, people being treated for shock. Something cracked open in her chest. Shame, raw, burning, absolute. She'd built an empire, crushed competitors, dominated markets, made herself into exactly what she thought success looked like. Sharp, hard, untouchable. Tonight she'd nearly died because she couldn't unfasten her own necklace, while the man she'd mocked moved toward danger, put his body between strangers and violence, protected his daughter and her and everyone else without hesitation, without calculation, without asking what he'd get back. Natalie went home that night to her penthouse overlooking Lake Michigan. Floor-to-ceiling windows, minimalist furniture, curated art, silence that felt like a tomb. She took off the diamond necklace. The clasp worked fine now that her hands weren't shaking. Put it in the safe. Poured 3 fingers of whiskey she didn't drink. Stood at the window watching city lights blur through tears she refused to acknowledge. 3 a.m., still awake, replaying the night on endless loop. Michael's eyes staying calm with that gun at his chest. How he checked his daughter first. Strangers second. Himself never. The gentle way he helped that elderly woman up. How he dismissed Natalie's gratitude like it meant nothing, because to him it did mean nothing. Doing right wasn't about earning thank yous. Her phone buzzed. "Sandra, are you okay?" Natalie typed, "No." 3 dots. Disappeared. Appeared. "Sandra, good, that's a start." Natalie set the phone down, closed her eyes. Somewhere across Chicago, in a modest apartment in a working-class neighborhood, Michael Turner was probably tucking his daughter into bed, kissing her forehead, telling her everything would be okay, and everything probably would be okay for them, because they had something Natalie spent 12 years forgetting existed. Integrity. The whiskey bottle was still full when dawn broke. Natalie watched the sun rise over Lake Michigan, pink and gold and impossibly beautiful. She made a decision, didn't know exactly what it was yet, but it started with finding Michael Turner, not to thank him again. Natalie found him 3 days later at Turner's Auto Repair on the South Side, the kind of neighborhood where chain-link fences had razor wire and corner stores had bulletproof glass. Her Mercedes looked obscene, parked between a rusted pickup and a Honda with 3 different colored doors. The garage bay door was open. Classic rock played from a paint-splattered radio. Michael was under a Chevy Impala, only his legs' visible work boots crossed at the ankles. "We're closed," he called out, voice echoing under the car. "Come back Monday." "It's Thursday," Natalie said. The creeper rolled out. Michael sat up, wiping his hands on a rag that made them dirtier. He saw her. His expression didn't change. "Ms. Pierce." "Mr. Turner." He stood, tossed the rag on a workbench cluttered with tools and parts. "You lost." "No." "Then what are you doing here?" Good question. Natalie had asked herself that same thing for 3 days, had written and deleted 17 different text messages to Sandra asking for Michael's information, had finally just hired someone to find him, felt disgusting about it but did it anyway. "I wanted to apologize," she said. Michael reached for a water bottle, drank half of it. "You already did, at the banquet. I told you I didn't want it." That wasn't an apology, that was panic and adrenaline talking. And this is what guilt, yes. The word came out harder than she meant. Yes, it's guilt. I was cruel to you and your daughter for no reason except I could be, except it made me feel powerful to make someone else feel small, and you saved my life anyway, and I don't know what to do with that. Michael studied her, not hostile, not friendly, just looking, reading. "So you drove to the South Side in a $100,000 car to tell me you feel bad." "I drove here because I can't sleep. Because every time I close my eyes, I see that gun pointed at your chest, and you didn't even flinch, because my hands were shaking so bad I couldn't work a necklace clasp, and you took down 3 armed men like it was nothing, because—" She stopped, took a breath. "Because you were right." When my world fell apart, I was useless, frozen, and the person I mocked was the only reason I'm still alive. You want me to make you feel better about that? No, I want to understand how you did what you did. Training. It was more than training. Michael set the water bottle down, looked at her for a long moment. You really want to know? Yes. My wife Sarah died 6 years ago. Car accident. Drunk driver ran a red light. She was gone before the ambulance arrived. Emily was 4 years old. His voice stayed level, matter of fact, like reciting a grocery list. I was deployed when it happened. They flew me home for the funeral. I had a choice. Stay in and let my daughter grow up without both parents, or get out and raise her myself. Natalie's throat felt tight. I'm sorry. I made a promise at Sarah's grave that I would never freeze when someone needed me. Not Emily, not anyone, because I froze when I got that phone call. My commanding officer told me Sarah was dead, and I just stood there, didn't cry, didn't move, just stopped functioning for about 10 minutes, and I decided right then that I would never let fear paralyze me again. He picked up a wrench, turned it over in his hands. So when those men came through those doors, there wasn't a choice. There were people who needed protecting, so I protected them. That's all. That's not all. Most people would have run. Most people aren't responsible for a 10-year-old who's already lost one parent. A door at the back of the garage opened. Emily appeared, backpack over one shoulder, math textbook in her hand. She stopped when she saw Natalie. Daddy, I finished my homework. Can we? She recognized Natalie. Her expression shuddered. Oh, hey, baby girl. Michael's whole face changed, softened. This is Ms. Pierce. She came to talk about the other night. Emily looked at Natalie with eyes that were too old for 10. Too knowing. The lady who said mean things about you. Natalie felt like she'd been punched. Yes, that lady, and I came to tell your dad I'm sorry. And to tell you I'm sorry too. What I said was cruel and wrong, and you have every right to hate me. I don't hate you, Emily said quietly. I feel bad for you. Emily, Michael's voice carried gentle warning. Well, I do. Anyone who has to make other people feel small to feel big must be really sad inside. Emily shifted her backpack. My teacher says hurt people, so you must be really hurt. Natalie couldn't breathe. This 10-year-old child had just taken her apart with more precision than any competitor ever had. You're right, Natalie managed. I am hurt and sad, and I took it out on people who didn't deserve it, especially you and your dad. Emily considered this, then walked over to the workbench and pulled out a drawing from her backpack, held it out to Natalie. I made this for the people at the banquet to remember they're safe now. The drawing showed the ballroom, stick figures scattered around, but in the center stood a larger figure with brown hair and kind eyes, Michael. And around him in a circle were other figures, protected. The word hero was written at the top in careful letters. It's beautiful, Natalie said, and meant it. You can have it if you want. To remember, too. Emily, you don't have to, Michael started. I know, but maybe she needs it more than the other people. They were scared, but they weren't mean before they got scared. She was mean before anything happened, so maybe she needs extra help remembering. Out of the mouths of babes, Natalie took the drawing with hands that weren't quite steady. Thank you. I'll keep it somewhere. I'll see it every day. Emily nodded, satisfied. Okay, Daddy, can we get pizza now? You promised. Go wash your hands. I'll be right there. Emily disappeared back through the door. Michael waited until it closed. She's protective, he said. Of me, of people she thinks need protecting. Sarah was like that too. She's remarkable. She is. He grabbed his jacket from a hook. Look, Ms. Pierce. Natalie, please. Natalie, I appreciate you coming here. I do. But if this is about easing your conscience so you can go back to your life and feel better about yourself, we're done. Emily and I don't exist to make you feel less guilty. That's not why I'm here. Then why are you here? Natalie looked at the drawing in her hands, at the careful way Emily had drawn her father larger than everyone else. The protector, the hero, everything Natalie's own father had never been. "Because I want to learn," she said quietly, "how to be less like I am and more like you are." Michael laughed, sharp, surprised. "You want life lessons from a mechanic. I want life lessons from a man who has his priorities right, who raised a daughter who's kinder at 10 than I am at 34, who didn't hesitate to risk his life for strangers." She met his eyes. "I built a billion-dollar company. I have influence and resources and power, and none of it mattered when it counted. I was useless. So yes, I want to learn from the mechanic." Michael studied her. Something shifted in his expression, not softening exactly, but considering. "I take Emily to volunteer at a food bank every Saturday," he said. "Roosevelt Community Center. We serve breakfast to homeless families, 7 a.m. to noon. You want to learn? Show up, work, keep your mouth shut and your eyes open. Don't treat it like a photo opportunity or a tax write-off. Actually help people who need it." He grabbed his keys. "And if you show up in that Mercedes wearing designer clothes, you can turn right back around. Wear jeans, tie your hair back, get your hands dirty." "I'll be there," Natalie said. "We'll see." He walked toward the back door, stopped, turned back. "One more thing. Emily forgives easy. I don't. You hurt her again, you talk down to anyone there, you make anyone feel less than, and I don't care how much money you have or how many lawyers. We're done. Understood?" "Understood." Michael nodded once, disappeared through the door. Natalie stood alone in the garage. Oil stains on concrete, tools scattered across workbenches, the Impala on the lift with its guts exposed, the smell of grease and metal and honest work. She looked at Emily's drawing again, the stick figure hero in the center. Her phone buzzed. A text from her assistant: "Board meeting moved to 3 p.m. tomorrow. Mitchell is pushing back on the merger terms. Need your input on strategy." The merger, right. Natalie had spent 6 months engineering a hostile takeover of a competitor, ruthless, efficient, profitable. The old Natalie would have been energized by the fight. Now it felt hollow. She took a photo of Emily's drawing, set it as her phone wallpaper, then she drove back to her penthouse and did something she hadn't done in years. She opened her closet and found the box in the back, the one she'd shoved there after her divorce, pulled out old jeans, a Northwestern sweatshirt from college, sneakers that had actually touched pavement for reasons other than fashion. Saturday morning, 7 a.m., Roosevelt Community Center. She could do this, had to do this, because Emily was right. Hurt people, and Natalie was tired of being hurt, tired of hurting others, tired of the emptiness that came with winning when winning meant standing alone on top of rubble. Friday disappeared in meetings and emails and conference calls. Natalie went through the motions, made decisions, approved budgets, crushed Mitchell's resistance to merger terms with 3 sentences that had him backing down. Sandra cornered her after the board meeting. "You're distracted." "I'm fine." "You're never fine. You're focused or you're ruthless. Today, you were neither." "What's going on?" Natalie told her. "The garage, Michael, Emily, the food bank." Sandra listened without interrupting. Then she smiled, actually smiled. Good. You've been running on empty for 3 years, Natalie. Since the divorce, maybe longer. I've watched you get sharper and colder and more isolated. This is the first time I've seen you care about something that doesn't show up on a balance sheet. I don't know what I'm doing. Neither does anyone else when they start trying to be better. That's the point. Sandra squeezed her shoulder. Go. Serve breakfast. Get your hands dirty. Maybe find out who you are when you're not being CEO of the year. Saturday morning arrived like Judgment Day. Natalie woke at 5, couldn't eat, put on the old jeans and sweatshirt, pulled her hair into a ponytail, no makeup, no jewelry except her watch, and then she took that off too. She looked in the mirror, a stranger looked back, someone younger, less polished, more human. She drove to the south side in her Mercedes, then felt ridiculous and parked 6 blocks away, walked the rest. dawn light turning the sky purple and orange, homeless men sleeping in doorways, a woman pushing a shopping cart full of belongings. The smell of trash and exhaust and life lived on margins. Roosevelt Community Center was a squat brick building with bars on the windows and a parking lot full of potholes. Cars were already there, old Hondas, beaten trucks, Michael's Tacoma. Natalie's stomach twisted. She almost turned around. Then the door opened. Emily came out carrying a box of bread, saw Natalie. Her face lit up. "Daddy," she came. Michael appeared in the doorway, took in Natalie's jeans and sweatshirt, her ponytail, her nervous hands. "You're early," he said. "Didn't want to be late. Come on then, we've got 100 people showing up in 45 minutes and the pancake batter won't make itself." The kitchen was chaos. Organized chaos, but chaos. A dozen volunteers moving fast, mixing bowls and griddles and industrial-sized coffee makers. An older black woman name tag said Dorothy ran the operation like a general. "You the CEO?" Dorothy looked Natalie up and down. "Yes, ma'am." "Michael said you were coming. Said you needed to learn something. That true?" "Yes, ma'am." "Then get over here and start cracking eggs. We need 6 dozen shell pieces and you start over." Natalie cracked eggs. 42 perfect. 15 with shells that Dorothy made her fish out. Her hands cramped. Her back ached from leaning over the counter. She'd never been happier. The doors opened at 7. People flooded in. Families with small children, single men with weathered faces, women with worn expressions and careful eyes, all hungry, all grateful. Natalie served pancakes, poured coffee, wiped tables, listened to stories she'd never heard in boardrooms. A mother with 3 kids under 6. Her husband had left. She was working 2 jobs, still couldn't make rent. An old man who'd been a carpenter for 40 years until arthritis took his hands. Now he lived in a shelter and survived on disability. A teenage girl trying to finish high school while couch surfing because her mother's boyfriend kicked her out. Stories of struggle, of resilience, of dignity maintained despite circumstances that would break most people. And nobody cared that Natalie Pierce was CEO of Pierce Industries. Nobody knew. Nobody asked. She was just another volunteer serving pancakes and coffee, and maybe if she was lucky a little bit of human kindness. Michael worked the griddle, fast, efficient, making perfect pancakes while talking to everyone who came through. He knew their names, asked about their kids, remembered details from previous weeks. Emily helped the children, set up a corner with coloring books and crayons, read stories to toddlers while their parents ate. At noon, the last family left. The volunteers cleaned in comfortable silence born from repetition and shared purpose. Dorothy approached Natalie. "You did good. Thank you." "You coming back?" Natalie looked at Michael. He was teaching Emily how to properly stack clean plates. Patient, gentle, present. "If you'll have me," Natalie said. Dorothy smiled. "We'll have you, but don't expect special treatment. I don't care how much money you have outside those doors. In here, you're just another pair of hands. That's exactly what I need to be." The volunteers filtered out. Soon it was just Natalie, Michael, and Emily. They walked to the parking lot together. "You did okay," Michael said. "Just okay. Dorothy didn't yell at you. That's high praise." Emily tugged Natalie's sleeve. "Did you like it? I loved it. Even the eggs with shells. Especially the eggs with shells. They kept me humble." Emily giggled. The sound was light, pure, everything Natalie's life wasn't. "Same time next week?" Michael asked. "Same time next week," Natalie confirmed. She walked back to her Mercedes, sat in the driver's seat. Her hands were stained with pancake batter. Her sweatshirt smelled like syrup and coffee. Her feet hurt. She felt more alive than she had in years. Her phone had 17 missed calls, 43 unread emails, 3 urgent text messages from her assistant. She ignored all of them, drove home, took a long shower, made herself actual food instead of ordering in. Then she opened her laptop and did something she'd never done. She started a file, called it Roosevelt Notes, wrote down everything she'd learned that morning. The mother with 3 kids needed childcare to take a better job. The old carpenter needed a wheelchair ramp installed at his shelter. The teenage girl needed a safe place to live and finish school. Problems Natalie couldn't solve with money alone, but maybe with money and time and actual effort. Maybe with listening instead of dictating. Maybe with humility instead of arrogance. Maybe with becoming someone who built up instead of tore down. Her phone rang. Sandra. "Where have you been?" Mitchell's been calling. "The merger's falling apart." "Let it fall." Silence. Then, "What?" I said, "Let it fall. If Mitchell can't agree to terms that don't gut their workforce, we walk away. Find another target, or better yet, build instead of acquiring." "Natalie, are you feeling okay?" "For the first time in years, yes. I'll see you Monday, Sandra. We need to talk about some changes." She hung up, looked at Emily's drawing on her desk. The stick figure hero standing in the center, protecting everyone around him. Natalie picked up a pen, drew another stick figure beside the hero, smaller, less confident. But there, present, learning, she labeled it with her own name. It was a start. Monday morning, Natalie walked into the Pierce Industries boardroom wearing the same power suit that had intimidated countless executives. But something was different. She felt it in her spine, in the way she looked at the faces around the table. Sandra sat to her right, Mitchell across from her, already smirking like he'd won something. The rest of the board members arranged themselves in their usual positions of calculated ambition. "Let's talk about the Hamilton merger." Mitchell started sliding a folder across the table. "I've revised the terms. We acquire their assets, restructure management, eliminate redundant positions. Standard protocol. We can close in 30 days and see profits within the quarter." Natalie opened the folder, scanned the numbers, saw exactly what she expected. Efficiency bought with 500 jobs. Profit purchased with families losing their income. She closed the folder. "No." Mitchell blinked. "Excuse me." I said, "No, we're not doing this." "Natalie, we've been working this deal for 6 months. The numbers are solid. This is a smart acquisition." "For who? For us, sure. For the 500 people you want to eliminate, not so much. That's business. That's how mergers work. You taught me that. Then I taught you wrong." The room went silent, every board member staring. Sandra leaned forward slightly. "What are you proposing instead?" "We restructure the offer, keep their workforce intact, invest in training and development instead of cutting positions. Yes, it'll cost more up front. Yes, profits will take longer, but we build something sustainable instead of stripping parts and selling what's left." Mitchell laughed, actually laughed. "Have you lost your mind? Our shareholders won't accept reduced profits because you suddenly developed a conscience. Then we educate our shareholders on long-term value over short-term gains." "This is insane. What happened to you?" Natalie met his eyes. "I remembered that numbers on a spreadsheet represent actual human lives, jobs, families, people trying to survive. And I decided I'm tired of building wealth on top of other people's ruin." "You're serious?" Mitchell looked around the table for support, found mostly confusion. "She's serious. The woman who once fired an entire division before Christmas is now worried about hurt feelings. I fired that division because their manager was embezzling, not because it improved margins. There's a difference. Not to shareholders, there isn't. Then maybe we need different shareholders." Natalie stood. "I'm restructuring how this company operates. Starting now, we're implementing a profit-sharing program, raising minimum wage for all positions to $25 an hour, establishing a hardship fund for employees facing emergencies, and we're going to stop measuring success solely by quarterly earnings." Mitchell's face went red. "You can't do this." "I'm CEO. I absolutely can do this. Board can vote me out if they want, but until they do, this is how we operate." She walked out, left them sitting there, stunned, angry, confused. Sandra caught up with her in the hallway. That was either the bravest thing I've ever seen or corporate suicide. Probably both. What changed Natalie? And don't tell me it was just serving pancakes. Natalie stopped walking, turned to face her VP. Her friend. I watched a man risk his life for strangers without hesitation, without asking what he'd get in return, and then I watched his 10-year-old daughter tell me I must be really sad inside to need to hurt people to feel powerful. And she was right, Sandra. I've been sad and angry and empty for so long, I forgot what it feels like to actually care about something other than winning. So what now? Now I figure out if I can run a successful company without destroying people in the process. And if I can't, then maybe I shouldn't be running a company at all. Sandra smiled. For what it's worth, I think you're doing the right thing. It's terrifying and risky and might blow up in your face, but it's right. Stay with me. I'm going to need people who believe this can work. Where else would I go? Someone has to keep you from bankrupting us with your newfound ethics. That Saturday, Natalie showed up at Roosevelt Community Center at 6:45. Earlier than last week, determined to prove something, though she wasn't sure what. Dorothy was already in the kitchen. You're keen. Didn't want to miss anything. Grab that apron. We're making biscuits today. You know how to make biscuits? No, ma'am? Good. I like teaching people who admit what they don't know, better than the ones who pretend expertise and ruin my dough. Michael arrived with Emily just after 7. The girl ran straight to Natalie. You came back. I promised I would. A lot of people promise and don't come back. Daddy says keeping promises is what separates good people from people who just talk good. Your daddy's right. Michael joined them at the counter. Started measuring flour with practiced efficiency. How was your week? Complicated. I might have started a corporate revolution. That sounds ominous. I told my board we're changing how we do business, putting people before profits. They think I've lost my mind. Have you? Natalie considered. Maybe, or maybe I'm finding it for the first time. They worked in comfortable silence. Dorothy taught Natalie the secret to proper biscuits. Cold butter, gentle hands, don't overwork the dough. Trust the process. Let things develop naturally instead of forcing results. Felt like a metaphor for everything Natalie was learning. The breakfast service went smoother this week. Natalie recognized faces from last Saturday, remembered names, asked follow-up questions that showed she'd actually listened last time. The mother with 3 kids, Maria, mentioned she'd found temporary childcare through a church program. The old carpenter, James, said someone had donated a wheelchair ramp to his shelter, didn't know who just showed up. Installed one morning, Natalie had made a phone call, had the ramp built anonymously because it needed doing and she could make it happen. Turned out money could solve some problems when combined with actual attention and care. During cleanup, a young woman approached Natalie, early 20s, nervous, the same girl from last week who'd been couch surfing. Ms. Natalie. Just Natalie. What's your name? Keisha. I wanted to thank you for listening last week, for not making me feel small. I didn't do anything. You looked at me, really looked. Most people look through homeless kids like we're ghosts. You saw me, that matters. Natalie's throat felt tight. Are you still trying to finish high school? Yeah, it's hard though. Homework's tough when you don't have a stable place. And I'm so tired all the time from moving around. What if you had a place stable, safe, yours? Keisha's eyes went wide. I can't afford. I'm not talking about you paying for it. I'm talking about a program my company's starting. Housing assistance for young people trying to finish their education. Interested. Are you serious? Completely. Give me your contact information. Someone from Pierce Industries will reach out this week. Keisha started crying, right there in the middle of the community center. Natalie didn't know what to do, so she did what felt natural, hugged her, let this girl she barely knew cry on her shoulder. Michael watched from across the room, caught Natalie's eye, nodded slightly, approval maybe, or acknowledgement. Either way, it felt like winning something that actually mattered. After everyone left, Emily asked if Natalie wanted to see her science project. They sat at one of the cleaned tables while Emily explained her solar panel design with the kind of passion Natalie used to have for business before it became just about numbers. "Why solar?" Natalie asked. "Because the sun's free. Everyone has access to it. Rich people, poor people, doesn't matter. The sun shines on everyone the same. So if we can make solar power work better, cheaper, more people can have electricity, more people can have light." Emily looked up from her drawings. "Everyone deserves light, don't you think?" "Yes," Natalie said softly. "Everyone deserves light." Michael joined them. Go get your backpack. We need to stop at the store before home." Emily bounded off, all energy and enthusiasm. "She's brilliant," Natalie said. "She gets it from her mother. Sarah was the smart one. I just work with my hands." "Don't do that. Don't diminish what you are. You're raising an incredible human being. You're teaching her kindness and strength and how to care about people. That's not just working with your hands, that's working with your heart." Michael looked at her for a long moment. "You're different than you were 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago I was miserable and didn't know it. Now I'm terrified and know exactly why." "What are you terrified of?" "Failing, losing everything I've built, proving that nice guys really do finish last, and I'm an idiot for trying to change the rules." She laughed, but it came out shaky. "I blew up a 6-month merger deal. I'm restructuring my entire company based on values instead of profit margins. Half my board thinks I've had a mental breakdown, and I'm doing it all because a mechanic and his daughter taught me more about success in 2 weeks than I learned in 12 years of running a corporation." "You're not an idiot. You're brave." "I don't feel brave. I feel like I'm standing on a cliff and I can't see the bottom." "That's what brave is, doing it anyway when you can't see the bottom." Emily came running back. "Ready, Daddy?" Michael stood, hesitated. "Natalie, we're going to Navy Pier tomorrow. Emily's birthday. She wants to ride the Ferris wheel and eat too much junk food. You're welcome to join us if you want." Emily's face lit up. "Please come, it'll be fun." "I don't want to intrude on your family time." "You wouldn't be intruding," Michael said. "Emily asked if we could invite you, said you looked like you needed friends." Out of the mouths of babes. Again. "Then I'd love to come," Natalie said. Sunday afternoon, Navy Pier was packed with tourists and families and screaming children high on sugar and sunshine. Natalie met them at the entrance wearing jeans and a simple shirt. No designer labels, no armor. Emily grabbed her hand immediately. "We're getting funnel cake first. Daddy says I can have whatever I want because it's my birthday." "How old are you today?" 11, Mom. "I'm officially in double digits." They got funnel cake, rode the Ferris wheel 3 times because Emily loved the view, played carnival games where Michael won Emily a stuffed giraffe nearly as tall as she was, ate hot dogs and ice cream and watched street performers juggle fire. Normal things, family things, things Natalie hadn't done since before her marriage fell apart. Maybe not even then. At sunset, they sat on a bench overlooking the lake. Emily between them, tired and happy, powdered sugar on her face. "This was the best birthday ever," Emily said. "Even better than last year when we went to the Science Museum," Michael asked. "Way better, because Natalie's here." "I'm honored," Natalie said, and meant it. "Daddy says you're learning how to be a better person. Is it hard?" "Emily," Michael started. "It's okay." Natalie looked at this child who saw everything so clearly. "Yes, it's very hard, because I have to admit all the ways I was wrong, all the people I hurt, all the mistakes I made thinking I was successful when really I was just mean. But you're trying. That's what matters. Daddy always says trying and failing is better than not trying at all. Your daddy's very wise." "I know." Emily leaned against Michael. "He's the best person in the whole world." Michael's arm went around his daughter. His eyes met Natalie's over Emily's head. Something passed between them, understanding maybe. connection, the recognition of two people who'd both lost things and were trying to figure out how to build something new from the wreckage. "Thank you for inviting me," Natalie said quietly. "Thank you for coming," Michael replied. They walked back to the parking lot as the pier lights came on, Emily between them holding both their hands, chattering about her birthday and how next year she wanted to go to the planetarium. Natalie's phone buzzed, a text from Mitchell. "Emergency board meeting called for Tuesday. They're voting on your removal as CEO. Thought you should know." She stared at the message, felt her stomach drop. Everything she'd built, 12 years of work, about to be taken away because she'd decided profit wasn't worth destroying lives. "Bad news?" Michael asked, seeing her expression. "My board's voting to remove me as CEO." "I'm sorry." "Don't be. I knew it might happen. I did it anyway." Emily looked up at her. "Are you scared? Terrified? What are you going to do?" Natalie looked at this girl, this incredible, wise, kind girl who'd been brave enough to tell a powerful adult she felt sorry for her, who chose to forgive instead of hate, who loved her father fiercely and made room in her heart for broken strangers anyway. "I'm going to fight," Natalie said. "Not the way I used to fight, with cruelty and intimidation, but with truth, with proof that caring about people doesn't make you weak, it makes you strong." "Good," Emily said simply. "Because we need more strong people who care. The world has enough strong people who don't." They reached Natalie's car. Emily hugged her hard. "See you Saturday. Wouldn't miss it." Michael walked Emily to his truck, then came back. "You going to be okay? Ask me after Tuesday." "Natalie." He waited until she looked at him. "You're already successful. You know that, right? Not because of your company or your money, because you're trying to be better, because you showed up at a food bank and cracked eggs with shell pieces, because you're here celebrating my daughter's birthday instead of at some fancy restaurant with people who only care about your bank account. That's success. The rest is just numbers." Natalie felt tears threaten, pushed them back. "If I lose the company, I lose my platform, my ability to make real change. Then you build a new platform, or you help people one at a time instead of thousands at once. Success isn't about scale, Natalie. It's about impact. And you've already impacted Emily, Dorothy, Keisha, Maria, everyone at Roosevelt. That's not nothing." "It feels like nothing compared to what I could do with company resources." "Then fight for the company. But remember why you're fighting. Not for power, not for control, for the ability to keep helping people. If they take it away, you find another way, but you don't stop trying." He squeezed her shoulder once, gentle, brief, then walked back to his truck where Emily was waiting. Natalie drove home through Chicago traffic, the city lights blurred. She wasn't crying, not really, just overwhelmed by the strange truth that she'd spent 12 years climbing to the top of a mountain only to discover the view from the bottom was better. Tuesday morning arrived like execution day. Natalie wore her most expensive suit, her sharpest heels, war paint. If they were taking her down, she'd go down fighting. The boardroom was full, every member present. Mitchell sat at the far end, already victorious in his expression. The chairman, Richard Hastings, called the meeting to order. "We're here to vote on Natalie Pierce's continuation as CEO of Pierce Industries. Mitchell has raised concerns about her recent decisions and their impact on shareholder value. Natalie, you have 15 minutes to make your case." Natalie stood, looked at each face around the table. People she'd worked with for years, people who'd made millions off her decisions, people who were about to betray her because she'd chosen humanity over profit. "I'm not going to defend my decisions," she said. "I'm going to explain them. 3 weeks ago, armed men attacked our investor banquet. People were hurt, traumatized, could have been killed, and I froze, completely useless, while a single father with no money and no power protected everyone in that room, including me, without hesitation." She pulled out her phone, brought up Emily's drawing, projected it on the screen behind her. "This is a picture drawn by his 11-year-old daughter. See that figure in the center? That's her father, her hero, The man who taught her that helping people matters more than money. And these figures around him, these are all the people he protected. People he didn't know, people he had no obligation to. He protected them anyway because it was right. Natalie walked around the table, made eye contact with each board member. I've spent 12 years building this company on the principle that profit matters most, that quarterly earnings justify any cost, that shareholders deserve returns regardless of human impact. And I was wrong, not because profit doesn't matter, but because profit without purpose is just greed in a nice suit. This is very touching, Mitchell interrupted, but sentiment doesn't pay dividends. You're right, it doesn't. But sustainable business practices do. Employee loyalty does. Community investment does. We've been so focused on short-term gains, we've ignored long-term stability. I'm proposing we change that. Not because it's nice, because it's smart. She clicked to the next slide. Numbers, data, projections. Companies with strong employee retention have 25% higher profits over 10 years. Companies that invest in communities see 40% better brand loyalty. Companies that prioritize sustainability attract better talent, better investors, better outcomes. This isn't charity. This is strategy. You're cherry-picking data, Mitchell said. I'm presenting alternatives to the slash-and-burn approach you've championed. Yes, my way costs more up front. Yes, profits take longer. But we build something that lasts instead of something that collapses the moment economic conditions shift. Richard leaned forward. And if shareholders reject this approach, then they're welcome to sell their shares. I'm not interested in investors who only care about next quarter. I want partners who believe in building something meaningful. The room went silent. Natalie waited, heart pounding, everything balanced on this moment. Sandra spoke up. I support Natalie's vision. I've worked with her for 8 years. This isn't a breakdown, it's a breakthrough. She's proposing we lead instead of follow, that we prove profit and purpose aren't mutually exclusive. I second that, another board member said. James Chen, quiet, steady. My father built his company on similar principles. Took longer to succeed, but when he did, it lasted. I think Natalie's right. Others murmured agreement. Not all, but enough. Mitchell's face went red. This is insane. You're all insane. She's going to bankrupt this company with her bleeding heart nonsense. Then vote me out, Natalie said calmly. But know that if you do, I'm not going quietly. I'm taking my vision public. I'm going to build something new that proves caring about people and making profit can coexist. And when it succeeds, everyone will know Pierce Industries chose fear over courage. Is that a threat? It's a promise. Richard called for the vote. Hands raised, counted, recounted. 7 in favor of keeping Natalie as CEO, 5 against. She'd won, barely, by 2 votes. But she'd won. Mitchell stood. I resign, effective immediately. I won't be part of this disaster. Accepted, Natalie said. Felt lighter already. The meeting adjourned. Board members filed out. Some congratulating her, others silent, disappointed. Sandra stayed behind. That was incredibly risky. I know. You could have lost everything. I know that too. But you did it anyway. I learned from the best. Natalie smiled. From a mechanic who taught me that doing the right thing isn't about calculating odds. It's about knowing who you want to be when you look in the mirror. So who do you want to be? Natalie thought about Emily's drawing, about Michael stepping between her and violence, about Keisha's tears of gratitude, about Maria finding childcare, about James getting his wheelchair ramp. Someone who helps, she said. Someone who builds up instead of tears down. Someone who uses power to protect instead of dominate. Then congratulations, Sandra said. You're on your way. Saturday morning felt different. Natalie arrived at Roosevelt Community Center at 6:30, earlier than ever, carrying something she'd stayed up half the night preparing. Dorothy was unlocking the kitchen door, raised an eyebrow when she saw Natalie. You're mighty early, Sun's barely up. I brought something, a proposal for you in the center. Proposal sounds like business talk. We don't do business here, we do people. It's about people, I promise. Dorothy studied her, then nodded. Come on then, coffee's brewing. You can talk while we prep. They sat at the metal prep table. Natalie pulled out a folder, not the fancy presentation kind. Just a simple manila folder with handwritten notes and printed documents. Pierce Industries wants to establish a partnership with Roosevelt. We provide funding for expanded services, job training programs, GED classes, mental health counseling, child care during breakfast hours so parents can eat in peace. We're not looking for publicity or tax breaks or our name on a building. We just want to help. Dorothy sipped her coffee. What's the catch? No catch. You run it however you see fit. We fund it. You tell us what you need, and we provide it. The only requirement is that you let our employees volunteer here. Let them see what real community looks like. Why? Because I'm trying to build a company where people remember they're human beings first and employees second, where compassion isn't weakness, where helping matters more than hoarding. And I can't teach that in a boardroom, but maybe I can teach it here. Dorothy was quiet for a long moment. How much money we talking about? $2 million annually to start. More if needed. That's a lot of pancakes. It's a lot of people we can help if you'll let us. And you don't want your name on anything, no plaques or press releases? Nothing. This is about impact, not credit. Dorothy set down her coffee cup, extended her hand. Then you got yourself a deal, but I'm running this show. You don't get to swoop in and tell me how to help my community. Wouldn't dream of it. Natalie shook her hand. You're the expert. I'm just providing resources. Michael walked in right then, stopped when he saw them shaking hands. What did I miss? Your friend here just made a very generous offer, Dorothy said. We're expanding services. Pierce Industries is funding it. Michael looked at Natalie. Something shifted in his expression, not quite a smile, but close. That's good, real good. It's the least I can do. No, Dorothy said firmly. The least you could do is write a check and never show up again. You're here every week, getting your hands dirty, learning names. That's the most you can do, and we appreciate it. Emily burst through the door. Daddy, I finished my math homework early so I can help longer today. She saw Natalie and squealed. Actually squealed, ran over and hugged her. You're early. Wanted to get a head start on those biscuits. Dorothy's still teaching me. She's a slow learner, but she's trying, Dorothy said with a wink. They worked through the morning, the rhythm familiar now. Natalie knew where everything was, knew the routine, knew that James liked his coffee. Black Maria needed extra pancakes for her kids' lunches. Keisha had moved into stable housing 2 weeks ago and was thriving. Speaking of Keisha, she came through the line looking different, cleaner, rested, hopeful. Natalie. She bypassed the food and came straight to the serving table. I got my GED. Keisha, that's incredible. And I got accepted to community college starting in January. Business administration. She was crying happy tears. I'm going to be the first person in my family to go to college. Natalie came around the table, hugged this girl who'd been invisible to people like the old Natalie. I'm so proud of you. You helped. That housing assistance, having a safe place to sleep to study, it changed everything. You did the work. I just removed one obstacle. Still, Keisha wiped her eyes. Thank you for seeing me when I was invisible. After she left, Michael appeared at Natalie's elbow. You're making a real difference here. One person at a time. It feels small compared to what I used to do. Small, he shook his head. You just changed the entire trajectory of that girl's life. Her future kids' lives, generations. That's not small, Natalie, that's enormous. I want to do more, then do more, but don't diminish what you're already doing. Emily told me something last week. She said you were like a butterfly coming out of a cocoon, still learning to fly but getting stronger every day. Natalie's throat went tight. She said that she's wise beyond her years, gets it from her mother. I think she gets some of it from her father, too. They worked in comfortable silence for a while. Then Michael said, "There's a veterans center across town. They help guys transitioning back to civilian life. A lot of them struggle. PTSD, addiction, homelessness. I volunteer there on Wednesdays, teach auto repair skills, give them something marketable. You should come sometime." "I'd like that." "Yeah, I'm realizing I spent 12 years in an ivory tower, never saw what was happening at ground level, never understood how most people actually live. I have a lot to learn. We all do. Difference is, you're willing to admit it." The breakfast service ended. Cleanup went fast, with everyone working together. Natalie was scrubbing griddles when her phone rang. "Sandra." "Turn on the news," Sandra said without preamble. "Channel 7, now." Natalie dried her hands, pulled up the news app on her phone. The headline made her stomach drop. "Pierce Industries under investigation. Anonymous tip alleges financial misconduct." She clicked the article, skimmed it. Her vision tunneled. Someone had leaked information about the restructuring, twisted it, made it look like Natalie was embezzling funds to cover personal debts. The housing assistance program, the Roosevelt partnership, all of it presented as evidence of financial mismanagement. "This is Mitchell," Natalie said. "Has to be." "Probably, but it doesn't matter who. What matters is the SEC is opening an inquiry, and our stock price just dropped 18%. I didn't do anything wrong. I know that. You know that. But perception matters. And right now the perception is that you're either incompetent or corrupt. Neither's good." Natalie closed her eyes, breathed. "What do we do?" "Cooperate fully with the investigation. Provide all documentation. Prove every dollar was spent legitimately. It'll take time, but we'll clear your name." "How much time?" "Months, maybe longer. And in the meantime, the board's going to panic. Shareholders will demand answers. It's going to get ugly, Natalie." "It's already ugly." She hung up, stood there in the Roosevelt kitchen surrounded by the smell of coffee and dish soap and honest work, while her professional life imploded. Michael touched her arm. "What's wrong?" she told him. "Everything. The investigation, the allegations, the stock price, the probability that she'd lose everything she'd built, not because she'd done something wrong, but because she'd tried to do something right." "I'm sorry," Michael said. "I knew it was risky. I did it anyway. Can't complain about the consequences." "You can absolutely complain. Being right doesn't make it hurt less." Emily had been listening. She came over and took Natalie's hand. "Are you going to be okay?" "I don't know, sweetheart. My daddy always says the hardest right thing is still better than the easiest wrong thing. You did the right thing. That matters even if it's hard." Natalie knelt down to Emily's level. "When did you get so smart?" "I've always been smart. You just started noticing." That startled a laugh out of Natalie. Genuine, breaking through the fear. "You're absolutely right," Dorothy called from across the kitchen. "Natalie, you got time for a quick word?" They stepped into the small office off the kitchen. Dorothy shut the door. "I heard about the news. Word travels fast in this neighborhood." "I didn't do what they're saying." "I know you didn't. Known you less than 2 months, and I know that in my bones. But I also know how the world works. Rich folks don't like when other rich folks break ranks. They'll punish you for it. I'm prepared for that." "Are you?" "Because losing money is one thing. Losing your reputation is another, and they're going to try to destroy both." Natalie sank into a chair. "I know." Dorothy sat across from her. "Let me tell you something about this community, about the people you've been serving breakfast to. Most of them have lost everything at some point. Jobs, homes, families, dignity, and they kept going. You know why? Why? Because they learned their worth isn't tied to what they own or what people say about them. It's tied to who they are when everything else is stripped away. You're about to learn that lesson the hard way, but you're going to survive it, because underneath that fancy suit and that CEO title is a woman who cracks eggs with shell pieces and doesn't give up. That woman, she's worth more than any company." "I don't know if I'm that strong." "You stepped between a gun and innocent people at that banquet. You fought your own board to do what's right. You show up here every week even though you could be anywhere else. You're a strong child. You just don't know it yet." Natalie's eyes burned. "Thank you." "Don't thank me. Prove me right. Fight this, not just for yourself, for every person who's been torn down for trying to do good. Show them that integrity wins even when it looks like it's losing." They went back to the kitchen, finished cleanup. When it was time to leave, Michael walked Natalie to her car. "You going to be all right?" he asked. "Ask me in 6 months. I'm asking now." She looked at him, this man who'd lost his wife and kept going, who raised his daughter alone and still found room to help strangers, who'd saved her life and asked for nothing in return. "I'm scared," she admitted. "Terrified I might lose my company, my reputation, everything I've spent 12 years building." "Then you'll build something else." "What if I can't?" "You will, because you're not the same person who started building that company. You're better now, stronger where it counts. And if you lose everything, you'll still have the most important thing." "What's that?" "You'll still be someone worth knowing, someone Emily looks up to, someone Dorothy trusts, someone who keeps showing up even when it's hard." He paused. "Someone I respect." The words settled in her chest, warm, solid, real. "Thank you," she said quietly. "Don't thank me, just keep fighting." The next weeks were brutal. The SEC investigation became front-page news. Reporters camped outside Pierce Industries, called Natalie's cell phone at all hours, dug into every aspect of her life looking for scandal. The board called emergency meeting after emergency meeting. Shareholders demanded her resignation. Her remaining allies grew quieter as the pressure increased. Sandra stood firm. "We have documentation for everything, every dollar accounted for. They can investigate all they want. They won't find anything because there's nothing to find." "Doesn't matter," Natalie said. "The damage is done. Guilty or innocent, the perception is that I'm reckless, that I can't be trusted with company resources. So we change the perception. How? We go public with the truth, not through press releases, through action. We invite journalists to Roosevelt. Let them see what the money's actually doing. Interview the people you've helped. Show them Keisha, Maria, James. Make them understand this isn't embezzlement, it's investment in humanity." It was risky, could backfire spectacularly, but Natalie was out of safe options. "Set it up," she said. The media tour happened on a Saturday. 3 journalists from major outlets. Sandra had vetted them carefully. Chosen reporters known for nuance over sensationalism. They arrived at Roosevelt expecting a photo op, found Natalie elbow-deep in pancake batter instead. "You actually work here?" one reporter asked. Young woman, skeptical eyes, recorder already running. "Every Saturday for 2 months. Dorothy's still teaching me to make proper biscuits." "Why?" "Because I needed to remember what matters, and it's not quarterly earnings." They interviewed Dorothy. She told them about the expanded services, the job training, the GED classes, the child care that let Maria finally take the better job she'd been offered. They interviewed Keisha. She told them about being homeless, about the housing assistance that changed everything, about starting college in January. They interviewed James. He showed them the wheelchair ramp he'd gotten anonymously, told them how it gave him independence for the first time in 2 years. And they interviewed Michael. The reporter asked why he volunteered here. "Because my wife died and Emily and I learned that communities survive by taking care of each other, not by hoarding resources, by sharing them." He looked directly at the camera. "Natalie Pierce is doing what everyone claims to value, but few actually do. She's using her success to lift other people up. That's not criminal, that's heroic." The articles came out 3 days later. Fair, balanced, nuanced. They didn't exonerate Natalie completely, but they provided context, showed the human faces behind the numbers, made readers question the narrative that she was embezzling or incompetent. Public opinion shifted slightly, not enough to stop the investigation, but enough to slow the calls for her immediate resignation. And then Emily did something that changed everything. She wrote a letter to the editor of the Chicago Tribune in her 11-year-old handwriting. It said, "My name is Emily Turner. My dad is a mechanic and we don't have a lot of money, but we have each other, and that's enough. When bad men tried to hurt people at a fancy party, my dad protected everyone, including Natalie Pierce. She was mean to us before that happened, said my dad didn't belong there. But after my dad saved her life, she didn't just say thank you and forget about us. She came to where we volunteer. She learned our names. She helped my friends like Keisha, who needed a place to live. She made my dad smile for the first time since my mom died. If that's what being a bad CEO looks like, then I hope more CEOs become bad like her. Because the world needs more people who care about regular people like us." Signed, Emily Turner, age 11. The letter went viral. Within 48 hours, it had been shared millions of times. News outlets picked it up. Late-night hosts read it on air. It became a cultural touchstone. The investigation continued, but the court of public opinion had rendered its verdict. Natalie Pierce wasn't a criminal. She was someone trying to do good in a system designed to punish goodness. 3 months later, the SEC closed the investigation. No charges filed. All expenditures deemed legitimate business expenses. Mitchell's allegations proven false. But Natalie's company was different now, smaller. 3 board members had resigned. Several major investors had pulled out. Stock price stabilized, but at 40% below its peak. Sandra found Natalie in her office staring at the financial reports. "We survived," Sandra said. "Barely. Barely still counts." She sat down across from Natalie. "We're leaner now, more focused. And every person still here believes in what we're doing. That's worth something. Is it worth 40% of our market value? Market value recovers. Integrity doesn't once it's lost. You kept yours. That matters more." Natalie's phone buzzed. Text from Michael. "Emily wants to know if you're coming to her school's science fair tonight. She's nervous about her presentation." "I have to go," Natalie told Sandra. "Board meeting in an hour." "Reschedule it. Emily needs me." Sandra smiled. "Look at you, choosing an 11-year-old science fair over a board meeting." The old Natalie would never. The old Natalie was miserable and didn't know it. The new Natalie knows what actually matters. The science fair was in a packed elementary school gymnasium. Projects on folding tables. Proud parents everywhere. Kids in their best clothes explaining volcanoes and plant growth and robot arms. Emily's project was in the corner, her solar panel design. She'd built a working model, small scale but functional. She saw Natalie and her whole face lit up. "You came?" "Of course I came. Wouldn't miss this." "I'm so nervous. What if the judges don't like it?" "They're going to love it, but even if they don't, I'm proud of you. You built something that could help people. That's what matters." Michael appeared carrying 2 cups of terrible school coffee. Handed one to Natalie. "Figured you could use this." "You figured right," she sipped it, grimaced. "This is awful. The worst. But it's honest awful. No pretense." They stood together watching Emily explain her project to judges. She was confident, articulate, passionate. Everything a kid should be when they're talking about something they love. "She's going to change the world," Natalie said. "She already has," Michael replied. "Changed yours anyway." "She did. Both of you did." The judges moved on. Emily came running back. "They asked so many questions, I think they liked it." "I know they liked it," Natalie said. "How could they not? You're brilliant." Later, after the winners were announced, Emily took second place and was thrilled they went for ice cream. Sat in a booth at a diner that had been there since the 70s. Red vinyl seats and laminate tables and a jukebox in the corner. Emily ordered a sundae with everything. Michael got coffee. Natalie got a milkshake. "This feels right," Emily said suddenly. "The 3 of us. Like we fit." Michael and Natalie exchanged glances over Emily's head. Michael said gently. "Natalie has her own life. Her company. She's not..." I'm not saying she has to be my new mom or anything weird like that, Emily interrupted. I just mean she fits in our life, like she belongs here. She looked at Natalie. Don't you think you belong here? Natalie's throat went tight. Did she belong here, in a diner booth with a mechanic and his daughter? 3 months ago, the idea would have been absurd. Now it felt like the most natural thing in the world. Yeah, she said softly. I think maybe I do. Emily grinned, triumphant. See, Daddy, I told you. You're very wise, baby girl. I know. They finished their ice cream, talked about school and work and the upcoming holidays. Normal conversation, family conversation, the kind Natalie hadn't had in years. When they walked back to their cars, Michael held back while Emily ran ahead. She's getting attached to you, he said. I don't want her to get hurt if you decide this isn't your world anymore. This is more my world than boardrooms ever were. I'm not going anywhere, Michael. You say that now, but when your company bounces back, when you're back on top, you might feel differently. I won't, because I finally understand what being on top actually means. It's not about money or power, it's about lifting other people up. And I can't do that from an ivory tower. I have to be down here, in the mess, in the real world, with people like you and Emily and Dorothy and everyone at Roosevelt. He looked at her for a long moment. You really mean that? I really do. Good. He smiled, genuine, warm, because Emily's not the only one who's gotten attached. The words hung in the air between them, heavy with meaning neither was quite ready to name. Good, Natalie echoed. They stood there in the parking lot while Emily played on a nearby bench. The Chicago wind was cold, winter coming, but Natalie felt warm in a way that had nothing to do with temperature. She'd lost 40% of her company's value, lost board members and investors and market share, but she'd gained something infinitely more valuable. She'd gained herself back, the self she'd buried under ambition and anger, and the desperate need to prove she was worth something, the self that knew success wasn't measured in dollars but in lives touched, in kindness shown, in choosing courage over comfort. Same time Saturday, Michael asked. Same time Saturday, Natalie confirmed, and for the first time in 12 years, she was absolutely certain she was exactly where she was supposed to be. 6 months after the investigation closed, Natalie stood in front of her bathroom mirror at 5 in the morning, not because she had an early meeting, because she couldn't sleep again, but this time the insomnia wasn't from anxiety, it was from excitement. Today, Pierce Industries was launching something that would either prove her vision worked or confirm that her critics were right all along. The Pierce Community Investment Program, a nationwide initiative providing grants, training, and resources to small businesses in underserved neighborhoods. No strings attached, no equity stakes, just investment in people who needed a chance. The board had fought her on it for months. Too risky, too expensive, too idealistic. Sandra had stood beside her through every argument. We're not just building a company anymore, we're building a movement. Either get on board or get out of the way. 2 more board members had resigned. The ones who stayed believed, really believed. Her phone buzzed. Text from Emily. Good luck today, you're going to change the world, Daddy says to eat breakfast. I told him you probably won't because you're nervous. Please prove me wrong. Natalie smiled, went to her kitchen, made scrambled eggs, texted back a photo with the caption, Never doubt your father's wisdom. Emily's response was immediate. He's blushing. It's adorable. The launch event was at Roosevelt Community Center. Natalie had insisted, not some fancy hotel ballroom, the place where she'd learned what community actually meant. Dorothy's kitchen had been transformed, still functional but decorated with banners explaining the program, tables set up with applications and information packets, local business owners already gathering, curious and cautiously hopeful. Natalie arrived early, found Dorothy directing volunteers like a field marshal. You ready for this circus? Dorothy asked. As ready as I'll ever be. Good, because half of Chicago's showing up. Word spreads fast when someone's giving away money with no catch. There is a catch. They have to use it to help their communities. Build sustainable businesses that employ local people. That's the only requirement. That's not a catch, child. That's common sense. Michael walked in carrying boxes of materials, saw Natalie and set them down. Big day. Terrifying day. Same thing. He came closer, lowered his voice. You've got this. You know that, right? This program is going to work because it comes from the right place, from actually caring instead of just checking boxes. What if nobody applies? What if people think it's too good to be true? Then we show them it's real, one person at a time, like everything else we've done here. Emily bounded in wearing a dress Natalie had given her for her birthday, purple with stars. The girl had declared it made her feel like a scientist and a princess at the same time. I get to help at the registration table, Emily announced. Dorothy said I'm in charge of making people feel welcome. Perfect job for you, Natalie said. I know, I'm very welcoming. Emily struck a pose. See welcoming. The doors opened at 9. People flooded in. Business owners, entrepreneurs, dreamers, people who'd been told no by every bank, every investor, every traditional funding source. Natalie worked the room, listened to pitches, heard dreams. A woman who wanted to open a bakery that employed formerly incarcerated people, give them skills and second chances. A man who designed adaptive clothing for people with disabilities, couldn't get funding because the market was deemed too small. A young couple who wanted to turn an abandoned lot into an urban farm, provide fresh food to a neighborhood that only had liquor stores and fast food. Story after story of people with vision and determination, but no capital, no access, no one willing to take a chance on them. By noon, they'd received over 300 applications, far more than anticipated. Sandra pulled Natalie aside. We're going to need to increase the budget, triple it at minimum. Do it. The board will push back. Let them. We'll find the money. We have to. A commotion near the entrance drew their attention. Reporters, cameras, a news crew pushing through. The lead reporter spotted Natalie, made a beeline straight for her. Ms. Pierce, can you comment on allegations that this program is just a publicity stunt to repair your damaged reputation? Before Natalie could answer, Dorothy stepped between them. Young man, this is a community center, not a press conference. You want to interview someone, you talk to the people this program is actually helping, not the woman funding it. But our viewers want to know if this is genuine charity or calculated image rehabilitation. Then your viewers need better priorities. Dorothy pointed to Maria, who was filling out an application. That woman there, she's applying for funding to start a child care co-op. Give working mothers affordable quality care. You want a story. Talk to her about how this program could change 50 families' lives, not about some rich lady's reputation. The reporter hesitated, then actually did it, went to interview Maria. Dorothy turned back to Natalie. Vultures, all of them. They're just doing their job. Their job is to tear people down instead of build them up. Don't you forget the difference. The day stretched long, exhausting, exhilarating. By the time they closed the doors at 6, Natalie's feet ached and her voice was hoarse, but her heart felt full, in a way it never had after closing a business deal. Michael found her in Dorothy's office, sitting in the dark, just breathing. You okay? He asked. Better than okay. Today mattered, Michael, really mattered. I know. He sat beside her. Emily wants to know if you're coming to dinner. I'm making spaghetti, nothing fancy, just us. I'd love that. They drove separately to Michael's apartment. Natalie had been there a few times over the past months, always surprised by how much home he'd created in a small 2-bedroom with secondhand furniture and Emily's artwork covering every wall. Dinner was exactly what Michael promised. Simple spaghetti, garlic bread, salad from a bag. They ate at a kitchen table that wobbled unless you put a folded napkin under one leg. It was perfect. Daddy says you helped 300 people today. Emily said through a mouthful of pasta. We accepted 300 applications. Still have to review them and make decisions. You'll pick the right ones. You're good at seeing people others miss. When did you get so wise? I was born wise. Just took you a while to notice. Emily grinned. That's what Daddy always says. After dinner, Emily showed Natalie her latest project, a design for a portable water filtration system for places without clean water. If it works, people won't get sick from bad water, especially kids. Did you know millions of kids die every year from dirty water? I didn't know the exact number. Well, they do, and it's not fair because clean water should be a right, not a privilege. That's what my mom used to say. At least that's what Daddy tells me she said. Michael was washing dishes, his back to them, but Natalie saw his shoulders tense at the mention of his wife. Your mom was right, Natalie said, and this design could help a lot of people. That's the plan. I'm going to be an engineer who helps people, not just an engineer who makes money. You can be both. Maybe. But if I have to choose, I'll choose helping. Money comes and goes, but making someone's life better, that lasts forever. Out of the mouths of babes. Again. Always. Later, after Emily went to bed, Natalie and Michael sat on his small balcony. November wind cold, but not unbearable yet. Chicago lights spread out below them. She's going to do incredible things, Natalie said. I know. Sometimes it terrifies me how big her heart is, how much she cares. The world isn't kind to people who care too much. Maybe enough people caring too much is what changes that. Michael looked at her. You've changed, you know. From that night at the banquet, you're not the same person. Good. That person was miserable. And now I'm terrified and uncertain and probably making huge mistakes. But I'm happy. Actually happy. For the first time in I don't even know how long. What changed, really? Natalie thought about it, about the moment everything shifted. You did. That night when you told me not to thank you, when you said to remember before I judged someone by their collar or bank account, it was like you held up a mirror and I finally saw myself, really saw myself, and I didn't like what I saw. So you changed it. I'm trying to. Every day. Some days are better than others. That's all any of us can do. They sat in comfortable silence. Then Michael said, Emily asked me yesterday if I liked you, like more than as a friend. Natalie's heart jumped. What did you tell her? I told her that was a complicated question. Is it? Yeah, because you're a billionaire CEO and I'm a mechanic. You live in a penthouse and I live in a 2-bedroom apartment with a wobbling table. You wear suits that cost more than my car, and I have engine oil permanently stained under my nails. We're from different worlds, Natalie. We were from different worlds. Past tense. I don't live in that world anymore. I live in this one, the real one, where people care about each other instead of stock prices, where success means making someone's day better, not making another $1 million, where a wobbling table with people I love matters more than crystal chandeliers with people I tolerate. You love us. His voice was quiet, careful. Yes, Emily, for sure. She's the most remarkable human I've ever met. And you, she stopped, gathered courage. You showed me who I could be if I was brave enough. You protected me when I didn't deserve it. You let me into your life when I'd done nothing to earn it. You taught me what real strength looks like. So yes, Michael, I love you, and I understand if that's complicated or if you don't feel the same way, but I needed to say it because I'm tired of hiding from truth. Michael was quiet for so long Natalie thought she'd ruined everything. Then he reached over, took her hand. It's not that I don't feel the same way, he said. It's that I'm scared. Emily's already attached to you. If this doesn't work out, if you decide this life isn't enough, it'll break her heart, and mine. I'm not going anywhere. You say that now. I said it 6 months ago, too, and I'm still here, still showing up every Saturday, still choosing this over everything else. Michael, I rebuilt my entire company around the values you and Emily taught me. I'm not going back to who I was. I can't. That person is gone. People relapse, go back to old patterns. Not me, not after everything I've learned, not after seeing what actually matters. She squeezed his hand. I'm all in, on this life, on you, on Emily, on everything that comes with it. I'm terrified and I have no idea what I'm doing, but I'm in. Michael looked at their joined hands. Sarah made me promise something before she died. She was in the hospital, knew she wasn't coming home, and she made me promise I'd find someone to love again, someone who'd be good to Emily, someone who'd make me happy. His voice cracked. I told her I'd never find anyone like her, and she said that was okay. I didn't need to find someone like her. I needed to find someone right for who I'd become after losing her. Natalie's eyes burned. I'm not trying to replace her. I know, that's why this works. You're not trying to be Sarah. You're just being you, and somehow that's exactly what Emily and I need. He leaned over, kissed her, gentle, tentative, like they were both testing if this was real. It was real. The door behind them opened. Emily stood there in her pajamas. Are you two kissing? Because if you are, I called it. I told Mrs. Rodriguez at school 3 weeks ago that you'd definitely kiss before Christmas. She owes me $5. Michael pulled back. You bet your teacher on our love life. Technically, I bet her on your lack of love life becoming an actual love life, and I was right. So yes, $5, please. Go to bed, you menace. Emily grinned, looked at Natalie. You're staying, right? Like for real staying. Because I already told everyone at school, you're kind of like my bonus mom, and if you leave now, I'll look like a liar. I'm staying, Natalie said. For real. Good, because we're a family now, maybe a weird family, but the best families are weird. She yawned. Okay, I'm actually tired now. Good night, love you both. Don't stay up too late kissing on the balcony. She disappeared back inside. Michael laughed. She's impossible. She's perfect. That too. They sat together until the cold drove them inside. Michael walked Natalie to her car, kissed her again under the streetlight, less tentative this time, more certain. See you Saturday, he asked. See you Saturday, and probably before then, I'm thinking Wednesday. Emily mentioned she has a presentation on renewable energy. I'd like to be there. You don't have to come to every school thing. I want to. I want to be there for the big moments and the small ones. All of it. Then we'd love to have you there. Natalie drove home to her penthouse, walked into the silence, but it didn't feel empty anymore. It felt like a place she'd eventually leave behind for something better, something real. Her phone buzzed. Text from Sandra. News coverage of today's launch is overwhelmingly positive. Stock price jumped 4%. Board members who resigned are calling asking to come back. We're winning, Natalie. She typed back. We were always winning. We just defined it differently than they did. Sandra, wise words from someone who 6 months ago would have sacrificed anything for stock price increases. Natalie, 6 months ago, I was an idiot. Sandra, 6 months ago, you were lost. Now you're found. See you Monday. Natalie set her phone down, looked at Emily's drawing still on her desk, the stick figure hero in the center, the one she'd added of herself months ago, smaller and uncertain, but present. She picked up a pen, drew the stick figure bigger now, more confident, standing beside the hero instead of behind him, added a third figure, smaller, bright, and bold. Emily, 3 figures, a family, the strangest, most unexpected, most perfect family. The following Saturday, Natalie arrived at Roosevelt at her usual time, found chaos. Good chaos. The expanded programs had launched, GED classes in one room, job training in another, mental health, counseling in a third, childcare in the corner where Emily was reading to toddlers. Maria was there, not as someone receiving help, but as someone giving it. She'd started her childcare co-op, was now training others. Keisha was there, volunteering between college classes, mentoring other young people, trying to finish their education. James was there, teaching basic carpentry to guys who needed skills. The community helping the community. Sustainable, real, growing. Dorothy found Natalie in the kitchen. You did this. We did this. Don't get modest on me now. You wrote the check. You showed up. You made people believe it was possible. Dorothy hugged her, tight. You're good people, Natalie Pierce. Took you a while to figure that out, but you got there. I had good teachers. Yes, you did. Now get over there and help Michael with those pancakes. He's drowning. Natalie worked beside Michael. Their rhythm practiced now. Easy. He'd make the pancakes, she'd serve them. Emily would make rounds talking to everyone, brightening the whole room just by being herself. At one point, a reporter from earlier in the week showed up, the same one Dorothy had redirected to Maria. Ms. Pierce, can I get a statement about the success of your program? Talk to the people it's helping. I'm just making pancakes. But our viewers want to hear from you. Dorothy appeared like magic. I thought I told you to focus on the community, not the CEO. I did. I interviewed 15 business owners. Their stories are incredible. But for balance, I need a statement from Ms. Pierce about her motivations. Natalie set down her spatula. You want to know my motivations? Fine, I was a terrible person, mean, selfish, cruel to people who didn't deserve it. Then someone I'd mocked saved my life without hesitation, and his daughter taught me that hurt people hurt people. So I decided to stop being hurt and start being helpful instead. That's it. That's the whole story. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have pancakes to serve. The reporter blinked. Can I quote that? Quote whatever you want. Just make sure you quote Maria and Keisha and James, too. They're the real story. That afternoon, after the breakfast service ended, the three of them went to the park. Emily wanted to try out her new skateboard. Michael and Natalie sat on a bench watching her practice. She's fearless, Natalie observed. Too fearless sometimes. Gives me gray hair. You don't have any gray hair. Give it time. Teenage years are coming. Natalie laughed, then quieter. Michael, I've been thinking about my penthouse. It's too big, too empty, too much everything I don't need anymore. So sell it and move where? He looked at her. Where do you want to move? Somewhere closer to here, to Roosevelt, to you and Emily. Somewhere that feels like home instead of a museum. There are some nice apartments in my building. 2-bedroom, nothing fancy, but close. How close? Same floor, 3 doors down. Natalie's heart raced. That's very close. Too close. Not close enough. She took his hand. I want to be where you are, where Emily is. I want to stop living 2 separate lives and start living one real one. You're sure? Because once you're 3 doors down, Emily's going to be at your place constantly, asking for help with homework, raiding your fridge, treating it like a second home. I'm counting on it. And neighborhood association meetings are brutal. Mrs. Kowalski will corner you about the recycling bins. I survived hostile board meetings. I can handle Mrs. Kowalski. And the building has thin walls. You'll hear everything. Crying babies, arguing couples, life being lived loudly. Sounds perfect. Michael smiled. Then let's do it. Fair warning, though, Emily's going to lose her mind with excitement. As if summoned, Emily came skating over. What are you guys talking about? You look serious. Natalie's thinking about moving into our building, Michael said. Emily's eyes went huge. Really? Like for real? Not joking. For real. Natalie confirmed. The scream Emily let out probably violated noise ordinances. She launched herself at Natalie, hugged her so hard they both nearly fell off the bench. This is the best day ever. We'll be neighbors. I can come over anytime. We can have sleepovers. You can help me with my science projects. We can breathe them, Michael said, laughing. I can't breathe. I'm too excited. This is better than my birthday. Better than winning the science fair, better than... We get it, Michael said. It's pretty great. It's the greatest, Emily pulled back, looked at Natalie seriously. You're really staying, like forever staying. Forever staying, Natalie promised. Good, because I already told everyone you're my family, and I don't lie about family. 3 months later, Natalie moved into apartment 4C, 3 doors down from Michael and Emily in 4F. The movers looked confused about why a billionaire was moving into a modest 2-bedroom. She didn't explain, just directed them where to put her furniture. Most of her expensive things stayed in storage. She brought what mattered: Emily's drawings, photos from Roosevelt, the comfortable chair she'd learned to actually relax in. Her first night there, Michael and Emily brought pizza. They sat on the floor because her table hadn't been delivered yet. Emily talked non-stop about her new teacher and her plans to enter another science competition, and how she was going to paint a mural on Natalie's wall. If that was okay, it was more than okay. After Emily fell asleep on Natalie's couch, Michael carried her back to their apartment, came back alone. "How does it feel?" he asked. "Like home, like finally after 34 years, I found home." He kissed her. "Welcome home then." 6 months after that, Pierce Industries reported record profits, not despite the community programs, but because of them. Employees more motivated, innovation up, retention through the roof. Turns out caring about people made them care about their work. The business journals called it the Pierce miracle. How she'd rebuilt her reputation and her company by completely changing how business was done. But Natalie knew the truth. There was no miracle. Just the simple recognition that people mattered more than numbers, that community beat competition, that lifting others up raised everyone together. On the 1-year anniversary of the banquet attack, Natalie stood in front of a room full of business leaders at a conference. They wanted her to explain her success, share her secrets. "The secret," she said, "is remembering you're human, that everyone you work with is human, that every number on a spreadsheet represents a real person with real struggles and real dreams. A year ago, I forgot that. I was mean and cruel and empty. Then a single father I'd mocked saved my life. His daughter taught me that hurt people. And I decided to stop being hurt and start being helpful." She clicked to the next slide. Emily's original drawing, the stick figure hero. "This is Michael Turner. He's a mechanic. He works with his hands. He doesn't have an MBA or a corner office, but he knows more about real success than anyone in this room, because success isn't about how much you make. It's about how many people you help. It's not about climbing over others. It's about lifting them up with you." She clicked again. Photo of Roosevelt Community Center. People being served. People serving. Community in action. You want to save your company, save your soul first. You want better profits. Be a better person. You want to lead. Start by remembering that the quietest person in the room might be the one who saves your life when chaos breaks out. So pay attention, listen, care, because the person you laugh at today might be the person who teaches you what really matters tomorrow. The room was silent. Then someone started clapping, then another, then everyone. But Natalie wasn't finished. "And if you take only one thing from this talk, make it this: be careful who you mock. Be careful who you judge. Be careful who you dismiss as unimportant, because sometimes the quiet ones, the invisible ones, the people you think don't matter, they're the ones who'll stand between you and danger. They're the ones who'll teach you courage. They're the ones who'll show you what it means to be truly successful. Thank you." She walked off stage to thunderous applause, found Michael and Emily waiting in the wings. He was in his good suit, she was in her science fair dress, both beaming with pride. "You did good," Michael said. "We did good," Natalie corrected. "All of us." Emily hugged her. "I'm proud of you. Mom would be proud of you too." The words hit Natalie in the chest. Emily rarely mentioned Sarah. When she did, it meant something. "You think so?" "I know so. Because Daddy told me Mom always said the world needed more people brave enough to care. That's what you are now, brave enough to care." Outside the conference center, the three of them walked to get ice cream, just like they had 100 times before, just like they would 100 times more. People stared, recognized Natalie from the news, whispered, pointed. She didn't care. She was walking between the two people who'd saved her life, not just that night at the banquet, every day since, by showing her what mattered, by loving her when she didn't deserve it, by teaching her that the best view wasn't from the top of the mountain, but from the place where you could reach down and help others climb. Ice cream and then movie night, Emily asked. Ice cream and movie night, Natalie confirmed. At your place, because your TV is bigger. My place it is. They walked through Chicago, a mechanic, his daughter, and a reformed CEO, the most unlikely family, the most perfect family. And somewhere Natalie was sure Sarah Turner was smiling, watching her daughter thrive, watching her husband find love again, watching the woman he'd saved become the person she was always meant to be. Not a CEO, not a billionaire, just someone brave enough to care, and that Natalie finally understood was the only success that really mattered.